posted this picture endorsing Donald Trump. She got lots of backlash for this in the comments, gaining attention from people like Consciously. Consciously commented, "Well, damn, Amber, this is what you're endorsing on your page?" Apparently so, Conscious. Amidst all the backlash, Amber decided to release this statement. "Y'all think Biden cares about black people? Sad. Do your research. I did. I'll always put women first. Y'all want biological men in women's sports? Well, that just seems transphobic. Trump supports the most reasonable compromise on abortion. Stop being brainwashed because we're people of color." That whole statement was laced with racist and transphobic dog whistles, but I'm not surprised. When celebrities start becoming irrelevant like Amber Rose, they start tap dancing for Republicans. An example off the top of my head is Stacey Dash. Especially when you look at Amber Rose and her brand, because it doesn't really align with Republican ideology. Until Amber made this post, I had personally forgot that she even existed. So personally, I do think that this is some sort of desperate grab for relevance. But for me personally, Amber Rose has only accomplished one thing with this post. She's earned her spot at the celebrity block party. We might have missed you the first time, but we got you now, Amber.
Church, now y'all know I don't do the political commentary. I find it rather divisive, and I've also lost friends behind politics because it makes you look at the person just a bit differently, okay? Now, Amber Rose is facing backlash after having endorsed Donald Trump for president, and it's easy to understand why people are feeling the way that they do. Amber is half black, she has black children, we've only ever seen her be connected to black men. She claims to be an advocate for women's rights as well as LGBT rights, so it just seems a bit odd that she would make this choice, okay? Now look, I'm a firm believer that you should have whatever political beliefs that your heart desires, okay? But I'm also of the belief that you don't need to shout it from the rooftops. To me, your political belief should be between you, your mama, your Jesus, and your therapist, okay? And Amber, it seems rather unnecessary for you to be out here saying this so loud and proud and with your chest, because we don't even look to you for politics, no way. So it just seems like you are trying to stir up some mess. Now y'all drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about this situation, and we'll talk later.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about an unexpected turn of events that is happening in politics in 2024 where up is down and down is up, okay? And this is a celebrity endorsement that, again, I really don't think that celebrity endorsements matter in the sense that they have influence over people and how people decide they want to vote. But I do think that the reasoning behind why certain celebrities are voting for Trump or choosing not to vote is important to pay attention to. Now, the last celebrity that we covered was Cardi B, who in 2020 endorsed Bernie Sanders for president during the Democrat primary. So we know that she's a progressive. And then she turned around and endorsed Joe Biden during the general election. Now, fast forward to 2024, Cardi B has come out and said, I am not going to vote for Joe Biden and I'm not going to vote for Trump. Now, she says that she's not going to vote for Joe Biden because of inflation, because he's sending a bunch of money overseas while Americans are struggling. And these are her reasons for sitting it out. Now, I don't agree with her sitting out the election in the sense that if she really cares about those issues, then she should vote for Trump, right? That's what she should be voting for, okay? But I'm not going to be upset when a leftist decides that, hey, I'm not going to vote, because she's likely, if she does vote, she's going to vote for Biden. So if she decides that, hey, I'm going to sit it out, I'm not going to be mad at her, even if I think that she should vote for Trump. But with that being said, this next celebrity endorsement that we have to talk about is making the left lose their minds, okay? Because if leftist women are thinking the same way that this woman is thinking, then Joe Biden is going to have a serious, serious problem. And the woman that we're talking about is Amber Rose, who is a model. I'm not sure exactly what she does outside of that, but she's famous for pushing the feminist agenda, okay, the LGBTQ movement. She's a part of that as well, too. She's very woke, okay? She dated Wiz Khalifa and Kanye, okay? So she's like a hip-hop model, right? And she's big in that space. But overall, she's known as a big-time woke feminist, okay? She promotes the idea that it's okay for women to be promiscuous and to sleep with whoever they want to sleep with and to embrace being a 304, right? So not a conservative at all, okay? But despite all that, money talks, okay, and the economy is not great, okay, and Amber Rose has come out and endorsed Trump. Now, this endorsement is extremely fascinating because her logic and reasoning behind her endorsement of Trump is actually sound, despite her left-leaning social viewpoints. And I want to talk about it, but first, I want to play some clips of the usual suspects being upset about Amber Rose coming out and endorsing Trump. And then I'm going to play this clip from TMZ to give some details on Amber Rose and her endorsement of Trump. Take a look.
I'm supposed to be resting, and y'all asses got me up here stressed. Stop listening to celebrities. They ain't shit. They're not us, and we're not them. They live in a different tax bracket than we do. And the real reason why celebrities like Cardi B and Amber Rose and all these other people coming out in support of Donald Trump are saying they're not going to vote or trying to encourage other people not to vote is because the mere fact that the Trump tax code ends in 2025. I understand what's going on. Okay? Cardi B, all that bullshit talking about, oh, New York, this. Her ass don't even live in New York. Her ass live in Atlanta or her ass live in California. I don't know where the hoe is. I just know she ain't in the studio. Amber Rose, the only poll that I will follow her ass to is the strip club because I believe in sexual agency, but I ain't taking no civic advice from no damn Amber Rose. It's interesting enough she says she's a woman's girl or this, that, and the other, and she believes in women's rights, but yet she gonna vote for the very person who took away women's reproductive rights.
First of all, stay out of black people business, Amber.
Right.
Okay.
You're not black. You say you're not black.
You say you're not black. I absolutely do not. As a matter of fact, that was a quote. Absolutely do not. Okay. I don't have a problem about your one vote. I don't have a problem with that either. What I do have a problem with is anybody with a platform spreading disinformation. Okay. The difference between misinformation and disinformation is the intentional dissemination of lies. Okay. Now, maybe you're just a dumbass who's been not paying any attention to what Donald Trump, the seeds that he has sown in our society that has resulted in women no longer having autonomy over their body on a national level, okay? Those are the seeds that Donald Trump has sown and taken credit for. And he is, in fact, the singular reason why abortion was overturned, because he put 3 Supreme Court justices who all passed the Federalist Society litmus test of being willing to overturn Roe v. Wade. So now you're not putting women first.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. The usual suspects upset, okay? Even though out of the same side of their mouth, they'll say, we don't care about celebrity endorsements, right? Hey, they had no issues when Cardi B was endorsing Joe Biden, okay? And Bernie Sanders, they had no problems with that. Now all of a sudden, these same celebrities that they had no problems with endorsing Democrats, now they come out and endorse Republicans. Oh, wait, now I got a problem, right? I got an issue, okay? It's just funny how that works. But again, what they're really upset about is the reasoning behind Amber Rose and her endorsement of Trump, because she's doing it from a women's rights perspective. So I want to react to this clip from TMZ, and they're going to get into more detail about her endorsement and why she's endorsing Trump. And again, the logic and reasoning behind her endorsement is sound. And I hope more women are actually thinking the same way that Amber Rose is thinking when it comes to voting. So let's get to it.
Endorsements are rolling in for the presidential campaign season, and Donald Trump has gotten one that has really surprised a lot of people. Amber Rose, who was apparently at an event with the former president and first lady recently, she posted this photo with a very simple caption, Trump 2024. Well, it was a very simple caption that got a ton of comments and backlash from some of Amber's fans and supporters who have felt like she was always someone who stood for feminism, that she, you know, look, here in Hollywood, Amber's famous for organizing an annual event called the that is all about not shaming women for what they wear and their choices in society. But a lot of people feel like supporting Donald Trump flies in the face of that. And
she made a point about abortion.
Yeah.
She made a point of talking about abortion.
Yeah. She said, blank y'all think Biden cares about black people? Sad. Do your research. I did. I'll always put women first. Y'all want biological men in women's sports? Trump supports the most reasonable compromise on abortion. Stop being brainwashed because we're people of color. Make your own decisions.
Wow. Amber Rose, I hope that you're watching my channel, right? I really do, okay? Because I think that you are. Again, the logic and reasoning behind this is sound, okay? That's what really surprises me about this woman, right? Because she doesn't have much going on in her head. But when it comes to how she's thinking about who to vote for, she has a lot more going for her upstairs than most people on the left. So I got to give her some credit for that. Not really saying much, but still, think about what she just said. She said, listen, you think Biden actually cares about black people? I've done my research, right? That means that she's looked into Joe Biden's history as a segregationist, as somebody that hangs out with Klansmen, as the same person that's responsible for the drug and crime bill that the woke revolutionaries complain about so much. There's nothing about Joe Biden that screams civil rights activist or that he cares about black people outside of the fact that he's a Democrat, okay? And even then, again, we know the Democrat Party doesn't give a damn about black people. They just use black people for votes, right? They fearmonger and say that, oh, conservatives, Trump, they're racist, right? Republicans are racist, and you have to vote for us. Even though, again, their policies hurt black people, okay? So again, you know, if you're talking about voting for Biden because you're black, that's silly talk, okay? Because I could argue that Biden has been responsible for a lot of the systemic racism that these people complain about so much, right? They want to complain about systemic racism. It just so happens that most of the so-called systemic racism, whether it be redlining or, again, the crime bill and all that stuff, Democrats, right? Democrats did all that stuff to black folks, right? But again, they never hold Democrats accountable for the so-called systemic racism that they complain about so much. But again, this topic of women's rights and abortion is what really gets me when it comes to Amber Rose, and why I think that this endorsement, again, is so logically sound, because she says, look, I'm a feminist, okay? And I am putting women's first, right? Women's rights. What you have when you have biological men competing in women's sports, biological men in women's spaces, that is a threat to women's rights. And this is something that conservatives have been screaming about for the longest time, right? While Democrats run around and pretend like they care about women's rights over the abortion issue. No, they don't. They actually are against women's rights. I mean, Biden is currently taking a sledgehammer to Title IX, which is foundational to women's right in education and sports. Right? He doesn't give a damn about women. Democrats hate women, right? They do. Let's keep it 100. I mean, when you talk about a woman's right to vote, the Republican Party was responsible for that, for the most part. When you talk about civil rights, the Republican Party was responsible for that for the most part. Again, it's amazing how Democrats get so much credit for things they didn't do, right? Things they really didn't support like that, okay? That they were in opposition to historically. But yes, it would make sense if you are a feminist, okay, to come out and to vote for Trump if you want to protect women's rights. That would make sense because, again, Democrats support biological men taking over women's spaces, which, again, is against women's rights. Now when we get to the conversation on abortion, again, this is why, again, I love this reasoning so much, because it seems as if, again, she actually is researched in what she's talking about. Voting for Trump or Biden this election is not going to change anything when it comes to the current situation of abortion, right? This is why abortion shouldn't really even be a factor to anybody that's educated. Why? Because if Trump wins, and let's say Republicans get a majority in the Senate and they keep the House, there's nothing they can do to enact a 15-week national ban on abortion. Well, why is that? It's because they're not going to have enough support. They're going to need at least 60 senators in order to get that done. It's not going to happen, right? Even if they had 60 senators, I doubt all of them would get on board with a 15-week national abortion ban. So it's just not going to happen. Realistically, it's not going to happen, okay? Same thing when it comes to Democrats. They want to codify Roe v. Wade in the law. Not going to happen. They're going to need 60 Democrat senators in order to do that. Even if Biden wins, if Democrats keep the Senate, they win back the House, it's not happening. And we don't even know if that would be constitutional, if the Supreme Court would even uphold that. Abortion is a state's issue now, okay? Now, I'm not sure where Amber Rose lives permanently, but it seems as if she hangs out in L.A. and California quite a bit. in a state like California, she doesn't have to worry about her so-called right to abortion being taken away because, again, it's a state's issue. In fact, California, because of Roe v. Wade being overturned, hey, they can have no restrictions on it if they want, right? They can be as extreme as they want on it in either direction. Now, we know they're going to be extreme in the liberal, progressive direction. They're going to allow abortion up until birth, right? This is what they want. But she knows in that state, hey, there's no threat to her so-called right to abortion. So again, it's an issue that's not even a real issue. This is not an issue that anybody should be going to the polls at the federal level and voting on. Okay? And anybody telling you anything different, they're lying to you. Okay? Democrats routinely lie. Okay? And Republicans pretend like they can do a 15-week ban. Like, realistically, they're lying. Okay? This is not an issue anybody should be voting on. And even still, she's saying, well, Trump supports the most reasonable compromise on abortion. At least this woman is not so radical that she believes that there is no compromise on abortion in regards to being able to do it whenever, right? Doesn't matter when. At least she says, hey, well, you know, there is a reasonable compromise that most people can get behind. Again, this type of logic and reasoning is sound. I don't think much is going on in her head, but still, when it comes to this, I gotta say, this actually makes sense. And if a lot of woke feminists, right, if enough of them are thinking the same way that Amber Rose is thinking, which they should be, then that could be good news for Trump. And this is why I'm covering this story. Not that I really care about what Amber Rose has to say, generally, but again, her reasoning behind this endorsement of Trump is fascinating. And I hope more women are thinking this way, right? If you're on the woke side of the aisle, right? If you're on the left side of the aisle. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, all this stuff they fearmonger about when it comes to Trump is just is nonsense. He's not a threat to LGBTQ rights, right? He's not a threat to that. It's not a right for biological men to compete against biological women in sports. That's not a right. It's not a right for biological men to be in biological women's spaces. It's not a right. None of these things are rights they're talking about. It's not a right for children to be able to undergo sex change operations. He's not a threat to any so-called LGBTQ right. He might be a threat to their privileges, right? But not to their rights. So, again, this is fascinating.
Now, I will say that when you look at the polling,
there are
a lot of people of color who are moving over to the Trump side for various reasons. A lot of Hispanic people are actually against Biden's immigration policies, and that was a driving force in increasing Trump's popularity there. So that's it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I get confused sometimes because you never hear anyone say, oh, white people should vote for and then plug in the candidate. For some reason, the Hispanic vote and the black vote, they're often talked about as if it's like a monolithic group that has to vote
but also
one
because
way.
it can make a big difference in the election.
Oh no, right. and make no mistake about it, and I actually looked up the numbers. So at this time in 2020, Biden had 81% of support amongst the black voters, and Trump had 9%. That's now at 22% for Trump and 69% for Biden. If that holds, Donald Trump is going to be president of the United States.
In a landslide, right? There's going to be a landslide victory if those numbers hold up, right? You are correct, okay? Yeah, so, I mean, listen, here's the thing. I don't want to talk about poll numbers too much because I talk about them quite a bit. All I got to say is that when it comes to this Amber Rose endorsement, again, as a celebrity, yeah, I agree that what they say in regards to their endorsements and who they're voting for president, yeah, people should not really take it too seriously. However, again, the reasoning behind what Amber Rose is saying, I think is important because of the fact that I think that most women that are on the left should be thinking the same way that she's thinking. And this demographic of women, single young women, are the demographic of women that Republicans struggle with the most. Again, because Democrats spend so much time fear-mongering about how Republicans want to take away their rights, it is not true. And somebody like Amber Rose, who would fit into that demographic, I wouldn't necessarily call her young, right? But I think she would fit into that demographic of single women that would vote Democrat, that are progressive woke. She coming out here and saying that she's going to vote Trump. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal in the sense that if that same demographic of women started thinking the same way that Amber Rose is thinking, right? Single women, logically speaking, that would conclude that you should vote for Trump, right? So again, any single woman that's actually influenced by what Amber Rose has to say, okay, I'm not saying there's a lot of them out there, but who knows? Again, she does lead a movement of feminist, promiscuous women. Again, if you're thinking the same way that Amber Rose is thinking, then yeah, you should definitely vote for Trump. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.